This is the Peter Greenwood Show at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival 2005. This is my 6th year doing this.
Oh my gosh.
I know, right?
Flies by, I'm sure.
It really does.
Yeah.
Could you tell me your name and what your show title is, please?
Yes, my name is Candice Fox. My show title is Cheers Mom, Eulogy for a Living Parent.
That's a title. Eulogy for a Living Parent. Let's break that down. How
Let's
did
break it down.
that come about?
Yeah, well, it's funny because before I had Cheers Mom, that was the title. And I thought it was just a really intriguing concept. And I thought it encapsulated a lot of what the show is about without giving away too much. And then as I developed the show, I started to realize that there was a lot more levity to it. And I wanted something a little bit more punchy and fun. And because the show deals with alcoholism, I thought Cheers was sort of a fun, like cheeky way of including like a little bit more humor in the title. So yeah, Eulogy for a Living Parent was what came first. Like before I even had written the script, I just had that idea.
That title.
Yes.
Like there's words. Let's build something around it.
Yeah, which I think is kind of how I tend to work because writing is sort of initially how I got into this, and this just became the vehicle for the writing, this show. But yeah, sometimes it's just a title will come to me, and then I build everything out around that.
So tell us about your mum and why you wanted to write a eulogy about
her. My mom. She's so complicated and I love her. We have been estranged for nearly 6 years. My 3 siblings as well. She suffers from alcoholism and, over the years things just became a little bit too unmanageable for us as her children. And so initially those first couple of years were really tough, but then as writers tend to do, I wanted to create something with it, and I started to feel like there weren't that many pieces of art that I felt like reflected my experience, and I didn't want to romanticize anything about it. I think a lot of stories are told from the lens of the addict and the alcoholic and not very often from their loved ones and the people around them who are affected by their disease. So I wanted to give a voice to that because I just wasn't seeing a lot of work reflecting that, and I know I'm not alone in this experience, and so yeah, that's.
So when it came time to develop the story, I know the title came first, but what order did you want to do it in? Is it very linear, or how do you tell the story?
Yeah, so it's structured around the 5 stages of grief, so that was really nice to have as sort of a roadmap because when I came to my director who helped me ultimately sort of iron out the script and structure it, I had written like 85 pages. And he was like, well, that won't work. That's way too much. And so the five stages helped give it sort of a skeleton, which was really nice. And then that was sort of our anchor through the writing and editing process was, well, how does this tie back to denial? How does this tie back to bargaining? And if it didn't, and it didn't make sense, we just didn't include it. And as far as, the chronological order of events in the show, it does jump around a bit, but it's pretty clear when it's, a certain year or period of my life and when it's not. And it kind of always just comes back to the present day where I'm just storytelling. That's kind of the thread throughout is just me really matter-of-factly and honestly just telling my story.
And how much of you is in this? Did you sit down to write, yes, this is 100% me, or did you try to view it through another person?
This is 100% me. Yeah, it's all true, and it's all me. Yeah.
And it's all there.
It's all out there for everyone at the Fringe to see.
How does that feel, though? It must feel very vulnerable to put not just yourself, but also your mum out there.
Yeah, it does feel vulnerable. I am sort of an open book when it comes to this particular topic, and just emotionally speaking, I'm very hard on my sleeve. I will lay it all out there, and so it does feel vulnerable, but I think because I know there's this connective tissue with so many other people, it feels sort of safe within that vulnerable space because it's a unique story, but it's also sort of not. And yeah, so it's been interesting.
So you get people coming up to you and saying, I relate to this. And at first you're like, oh, great. And then you're like, oh, great. Like,
yeah.
The realization sinks that the reason why you're not alone in this, what's that like?
Yeah, I mean, so I did a run in New York and then LA and then another run in New York, and that was, I think, what ultimately led me to Fringe. I didn't really intend on coming here, but then the response from people that did have similar experiences was so immense and so strong that I felt almost like a responsibility to just be the vessel for this particular thing and topic. And it's funny because it's almost this like, it feels like we're lost siblings or something.
Yeah,
when
like we're all kind of connected in this thing that, and I don't know if you have this experience, but you kind of worry about saying it out loud because you don't want to upset anybody else. Is that something you felt while developing it?
Yes. So I did want to sort of destigmatize it because essentially, and without giving too much away about the show, I started off by basically confessing to the audience that I have been wishing that my mother would just die already. And that felt like a really shameful, horrible thing that no one should ever think or feel about anyone, especially their mother. And then I took it to my therapist, and she was able to frame it in this way that made so much sense, where it was sort of like, when people are suffering from an illness, it does get to a place where their loved ones really do start to just want the suffering to end, and that's not a bad thing. It's actually a really kind and forgiving and loving thing. And so, yeah, it's a tricky thing, but I hope that in doing this show, anyone that maybe doesn't totally understand that or feels as though that's not, a kind thing to think or want, gains a better understanding of it.
How has the show changed since you first did it in New York? And when did you first do the show in New York? Because I saw a video on your social media of you outside a theatre like, hey, this is my show. And then you're like, oh, wait, not this theatre. And you run across New York City.
Yeah. So my first show was in October of 2024, and I did it as part of a festival there called Days of the Dead. And so
I know of that festival. I'm desperate to come to that festival.
Oh, yeah, you got to come. Well, so it's mostly horror stuff, though, is the thing.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't sure when I applied if my show was going to fit, but they said, it's about grief and death in a way. So, yeah, bring it in. And so I did it for that, 2 shows, and did it in LA for 3. I'm as far as it changing and developing, I think it's pretty nuanced. It's not like we've done these major rewrites or upheavals of the script. I think it's more so just me growing and evolving in my comfort with sharing it and being more and more honest in it, and leaning into the laughs because I think as a writer and as a storyteller, I think I'm a funny human being. I think I have a sense of humor, but I'm not a comic. I'm not a comedian. So those first few shows when I was getting laughs in certain parts, I was like, oh, this is fun. And now even just since arriving at the Fringe, I randomly will be like, I have a joke. I'm going to try it. And so I had my first show today, and I was just sort of trying out different jokes that were specific to the Fringe. And that has been a big development for me personally, getting more comfortable with just being off the cuff and saying whatever crazy shit comes to my head and just trying it out.
And how does the audience take to that? Do they enjoy it, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think people are uncertain of what to expect because it does sound so dark. And so I think that very first laugh, people are uncertain if they're supposed to. And that was something I heard from some people that saw the shows in New York and LA. They were like, I laughed really hard in that moment, and then I was really embarrassed. And I was like, no, it's totally fine. I think anything that is dark, the pendulum swings, and there's levity and humor and so many absurdities within all of it, and that's funny.
I was thinking of that opening line that you said, and it's one of those opening lines, particularly with British audiences, Scottish audiences, where you'll say that and then they'll laugh and then they'll go, oh, wait, should we have laughed at that? Wait, please tell us more, lady on the stage.
Yeah. To me, I'm game for anything. If anyone can laugh at any point, I will take it. And you never know why someone's laughing either. There have been things for me as an audience member in a show that have struck a certain chord with me, and I think when we're uncomfortable, we tend to laugh. And when it's something that really hits home for us, it's easier to kind of giggle about it than to really sit with the discomfort of the feelings of it. Yeah. So I think laughter's, it's important.
Yeah. What is next for the show after the Fringe?
Great question. That I would love to know the answer to that. I'm not sure. This is such a big endeavor and a huge undertaking. And so I really, I, as a writer and a storyteller, am really curious to see how this could evolve and develop beyond it just being a solo show and beyond even me being a performer in it. I would love to develop something with a whole cast, with a family, with siblings that could represent my family and really like dig into the meat of the acting behind it. So that would be pie in the sky. We will see. I'm just trying to, go with the flow and see how it all goes.
Are you working on anything? Any more shows that you can tell us about?
No other shows, but I do have a manuscript for a novel that I've been shopping around, and I actually just found out last night I have an agent who's interested in reading the full manuscript. I'm very excited.
Amazing.
Yeah, it centers around similar topics, and it sort of has some urban fantasy elements to it. So even though it does deal with the idea of grief and addiction and how that affects a family system, it also has some really sort of bizarre elements with time travel and these farm animals and a cemetery, and so
that sounds like a journey.
It is.
Farm animals, time travel. It sounds brilliant.
Hopefully it'll be on the shelves of every bookstore in like 18 months. We'll see.
Hopefully you can bring it back to Edinburgh next year. Can it be turned into a stage show, do you think?
Oh my gosh, I'm sure it could. That could be really interesting. I'm open to it. I feel like it's good as an artist to just, you can have the thing that you want to do and use that as your sort of North Star. But I think being adaptable and flexible and open to different mediums and elements is really a great, trait to have. So I'm trying to stay open.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to push myself, but I played a pretty amazing cow in primary school in the nativity play.
Okay.
I moved like a mother. It was amazing.
All right, I'm making a mental note right now.
If you need a cow,
you're my guy.
Brilliant.
Okay.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Where can people find out about you on social media?
Social media. So my handle is Candy Pants. CandyPantz. It has been my nickname since I was in high school.
Yes. When I was researching the show, I found that, and I was like, Candy Pants with a Z. That is unusual.
It's one of those things.
Shaming, just
when
unusual.
Instagram came about, I was so young, and I think I just sort of used my high school nickname, thinking this app won't go anywhere, nothing will come. And now I almost feel silly changing it, even though maybe it should be a little bit more professional. But whatever. It's like sassy and silly, which I think is very me. So who cares?
And it's very unique. If anyone's like, bring me Candice Fox, they know exactly where to go.
Yes, Candy Pants.
Yeah.
Yep. Hard Z.
Yes, with the hard Z
Yeah.
at the end. Thank you so much for your time today. It was lovely to sit and talk to you. Good luck with the show and enjoy Edinburgh.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. This was so fun.
Cheers, Mom. Eulogy for a Living Parent is playing at Studio at Sea Arts every day until the 17th of August. For more information and for tickets, go to edfringe.com and search for Cheers Mom, and that's MOM. For the Peter Greenwood Show at the Edinburgh Fringe 2025, I'm Peter Greenwood. See you next time.